From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and Akashvani, this is Stumped.
Hello and welcome to Stumped, your intercontinental hit of news, features and debate from the quirky world of cricket. I'm Alison Mitchell in Leeds, where I was at a dinner with Joe Root last night, England's all-time leading run scorer in Test cricket, and of course second only in world history behind the great Sachin Tendulkar for a number of Test runs. So really good to just listen to his reflections on the Ashes winter, where England go from here, and just overall reminded of what a good guy he is and a great ambassador for the game.
Hi there, Jim Maxwell for the ABC in Sydney. Winter's starting to set in, though it's not freezing, 16 degrees you can manage. And I guess the cricket story of the moment is the BBL, potential sale. Will it or won't it? At the moment, it's a stalemate.
Stay independent, Jim. We'll see how it goes, though. I'm Charu Sharma for Akashvani in Bangalore. I've returned to some pre-monsoon rains, which kind of interfere with our golf and tennis plans, but I've just returned from Nagpur doing their T20 league auction. All good for many of the leagues that will come up after the IPL's over. But of course, that juggernaut is continuing to trample everything in front of it.
Our focus on Stump this week is on the Pakistan Super League after Peshawar Zalmi beat Hyderabad Kingsmen by 5 wickets to win the 2026 final in Lahore. Australian all-rounder Aaron Hardy starred with bat and ball to help the franchise to their second title 9 years after their first. Now, most of the tournament was played behind closed doors due to the fuel crisis, but the final did take place in front of a packed crowd at Gaddafi Stadium, watched also by cricket broadcaster Zainab Abbas, who was part of the TV team, and she joins us now. Zainab, great to have you on Stumped. A restricted tournament across 2 venues only, but how good was it to have a crowd for that final?
It felt like there was almost like a void when we didn't have crowds. And although we got some quality games in between, but it did feel like something was missing. So it was just great to see that they did open up crowds towards the end. It was very much the demand of the fans, and also, to end it off on a high note. So you always get a great crowd in. People love their cricket here. So Peshawar Zalmi was in the final, and that's Babar Azam's team, as we know. We knew that it's going to be a packed house. There were people literally lined up outside. A lot of people were actually stuck. They couldn't even get in because it was a full house. So, in terms of the atmosphere, I think it was just incredible, and there was deafening noise, so to speak. So, yeah, it was great in terms of a sporting spectacle. It was fantastic.
So Peshawar Zalmi winning, did the title go to the right team in your view?
Absolutely. They had 1 loss in the entire season. Full credit to them, because I think it starts from the auction, the kind of team and setup that they put together, and then the combination that they had, bringing on, really some good players. Mendes was in great form. Babar himself was doing really well. And, a lot of other players as well. Just the combination that they had, that they were able to have a really good balance of bat and ball, some really good players in their lineup, and the consistency. So if there were any worthy winners in this competition, it has to be Peshawar Zalmi, just for the way, the kind of brilliant cricket that they've played throughout the season.
Hi, Jim Maxwell here in Sydney. Zainab, the rejuvenation of Babar Azam. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because he was captain, leading run scorer. It must have been a tonic for everyone to see such a fine player return to form.
Yeah, I think it was the need of the hour as well. If he was to lead his franchise to a win in the final, and we needed contributions from him, we needed him to get back into form, and it was just great to see, because it was almost like watching the old Babar. And so for him to be able to have those brilliant partnerships with Kosal Mendes, there were a few that we saw in the HPL PSL, and he seemed like he was completely in the driving seat, which is what you expect from someone like him. So he had a huge role to play in terms of why Peshawar Zalmi was in the final. And I think he's just got such fan support behind him, and so many people to guide him and give him that kind of confidence, that I think we were fortunate to see him back in form.
Now, a word or two on Aaron Hardy's all-round skill and success, particularly in the final. What did you make of that?
I feel like the kind of performance he delivered in the final, to be able to pick up 4 wickets, I think he adjusted to the conditions in Lahore really well, hitting the deck hard, bowling that shortish length which was required here. But I think Aaron, he showed a lot of confidence with and the kind of mindset that he came out and played. First, picking up 4 wickets and restricting Hyderabad to 129, which was a below par score in a final, and then also being able to hit a 50 at a time when it was needed. Remember, they were in a bit of trouble when you talk about Peshawar Zalmi, because they lost a couple of wickets at the top. They had been relying on their top order. But you see, I think when a team is doing well, it inspires the other players as well to come forward and bring in their A game. Aaron was absolutely magnificent. He didn't look like he was playing under any kind of pressure, and he just showed a lot of calmness and composure and was able to hit very cleanly and make sure that he ensure that he takes his team over the line.
Zainab, hi, this is Charu Sharma from Bangalore. Thanks so much for joining us. What would you consider to be a standout moment for you?
I'll go with Hunain's performance in the eliminator, because remember, they were playing against a very solid Islamabad United, a franchise that has already won the title a couple of times. They were up against Hyderabad Kingsmen, and Hunain had the opportunity to defend 6 runs. And it's unheard of in modern day T20 cricket on flat wickets to be able to defend 6 runs, because he said that he was going to be bowling 6 Yorkers, and he spoke about it, and he did. He actually did, and he managed to get away with it, because at that point, most people or the crowd and everyone that was following perhaps thought that this is a lost cause now. They're going to hit a 6 or a boundary and get away with it, and they'll Islamabad United will be in the final once again.
Yeah.
But the kind of bowling that we got to see, he went to Manas, his captain, and said that he's going to be bowling 6 Yorkers. So the kind of confidence that we got to see from a youngster, and for him to be able to do that and take his team that was completely written off at the start into the final, is definitely the story of HPL PSL.
Yeah, it was an excellent exhibition and demonstration of skill, wasn't it? One of which we saw a lot of during the PSL this year. Cricket broadcaster and PSL presenter Zainab Abbas with us on Stumped from Lahore.
From the BBC World Service, this is Stumped on Akashvani.
Well, next on Stumped, the upcoming Women's T20 World Cup is a bit of a last dance for 3 New Zealand greats, with Suzie Bates, Sophie Devine and Leah Tahuhu all announcing that they'll retire from international cricket following the tournament. The trio have been the backbone of New Zealand's side for the last 15 years and won the T20 World Cup together last time round in 2024. I've been speaking to Suzie Bates, who's had 20 years at the top of the game and is the world's all-time leading run scorer in women's T20 internationals. And she told me it feels like the right time to bow out.
It was tough, but I knew it was the right time for me and the group. And so it was kind of made a bit easier. I hadn't really looked past this World Cup. I wasn't sure when I got injured over the summer back home that I was going to make it to this World Cup, but then decided to get the rehab and see what happens. So once that was sort of confirmed, I definitely knew it was the right time for me. But yeah, when you make the announcement it's final, you're sort of like, oh, this is it. And yeah, you sort of reflect on those 20 years and it's gone so quickly and it's just changed so much. It's unrecognizable from when I started. And there's just always something exciting that's coming up that I've wanted to be a part of. And that's the same with cricket, like the Olympics is the Champions Trophy. So it's always kept me motivated. But yeah, it was an easy decision in the end just because it felt right.
So if I take you back to 2006, you mentioned just how far the game has come in that time. I mean, how can you even sort of compare from what was going on then to what's on offer now?
Yeah, you just can't. It's sort of crazy. It feels like a different career, like almost a different sport of I was playing and we had maybe 2 tours a year, a home tour and an away tour if we were lucky. And there was a World Cup only every 4 years with the 50 over. And yeah, you had amateur athletes who were doing other vocations. I remember we had Rebecca Rolls was a police officer, we had teachers, we had a vet, we had people working full time, and cricket was almost their hobby that they put a lot of effort into. So it was a hobby in terms of its profession, but the amount of time and hours that I guess the woman had to put in before work hours, it was what it was. And then all of a sudden, it became a professional, probably around the world first, where there was franchise opportunities. And I first played in WA, where it was still, you weren't paid a lot of money, but I was the first overseas, I think, to go over there and play. And then the Super League happened in UK and it started to grow, and it enabled me to be a professional playing globally before we were professional in New Zealand. So now to look at it with, I think, nearly every team at this next World Cup would have a form of contract and professional players. So to have 10 teams that on a level playing field. I always used to say I'd go to, I guess, franchise cricket, and I was a professional playing against amateurs. So there was always going to be a gap when there should have been. But now, yeah, when I came to England last year, playing in the county system and everyone was professional, it's exciting to see where the game can go, because that's still pretty new, and that's the step New Zealand needs to take to get domestic players professional. But yeah, to think these girls now have every opportunity to train as much as they can get. It's happened reasonably quickly, and yeah, it's sort of, yeah, you pinch yourself to think that you've been part of that transition and that you're still a part of where it is now.
Any things that you would have wanted to do in your career that you haven't? Slightly loaded question, maybe.
Like, because of how I started my career, 50 over cricket was the pinnacle, and obviously the game's changed so much, and 20 over cricket has become a huge part of the diet of international cricket. But yeah, I always felt the 50 over World Cup was the pinnacle in terms of the best team over a tournament. You played everyone, and 50 over cricket was our biggest test because we didn't play test match cricket. So I sort of had the goal of going to India because I hadn't ticked that off, and that didn't go to plan. But probably the only other thing was after COVID, there was the IPL exhibitions, and I would have loved to experience the IPL because I just love playing cricket in India. And
do you think you still could? You're not retiring from domestic, are you?
No, I have only, yeah, we'll put that out there. I've only retired. Yeah, those are probably the two things that I sort of think, I'd love to experience that. So, yeah, but other than that, I wouldn't change anything else. My journey, it's been my journey, and I got to captain early on, but I feel like the latter part of my career I've been really able to just enjoy it and help other, like some of our younger leaders.
Leah Tahuhu and Sophie Devine have confirmed that they'll be retiring as well at the end of this T20 World Cup. It's almost as if you planned it.
Yeah, we've had conversations over the years. Obviously Sophie with 50 over retirement, and she wasn't too sure if this was on the cards, but she's been playing so well. I think we were sort of begging her to stay available. And yeah, Leah's obviously showed so much resilience to get back from injury, and as a fast bowler to play this long is really special. So yeah, we've talked about it, and I think we kind of knew probably after the 50 over World Cup that we'd give this one last crack. And yeah, I guess it's a little bit of changing of the guard for the White Ferns. We've had a lot of senior players over the years bow out, and now it's with Mealy Kerr in charge, there is sort of that new generation coming through. So it's going to be really special to share that with those two players. But I know as well, someone like Mealy, she's been a huge part of my career. So to have her as captain and I guess sort of be able to play a few more games with her is pretty cool.
What about you then, Suzie, in terms of what will be next? Have you got some ideas about what you will do when you're not playing international cricket?
Yeah, I feel like I've almost had the last 8 years to think about it. I think when you get to 30, you start thinking about the end, and I've hung on for 8 more years. But Yeah, I've always been passionate about coaching and sport and the coaches that I've had, and I've been really lucky to pick up a job with the Sunrisers Leeds immediately after the World Cup to, I guess, see how I go in that space. So that's an exciting opportunity. Like I haven't retired from domestic cricket, but I'll see after the 100 when I get back how I'm feeling mentally and physically. But the goal is to turn out for one last season with the Otago Sparks. So if you think I've played a long time for the White Ferns, add another 5 or 6 years onto my.
Exactly.
It's been over half my life. So yeah, that's a special team for me. And yeah, I do think coaching's in my future, but I also, when you've been in the game for so long, there's part of me that just wants to give myself a little bit of space from the game and see what other opportunities are out there and I guess develop in other areas. So I'm trying to just be as open-minded as I can. I know it will involve sport at some level because that's what I'm hugely passionate about. But yeah, there's a few things on the cards, but also just trying to be open to what opportunities might pop up and trying to say yes to things that put me out of my comfort zone.
So if you haven't played at the WPL, we could find you coaching at the WPL one day and maybe internationally.
Yeah, never know. And I think that's what I need to sit down with my coaching. Like I've always been passionate about that, but it's actually working out what type of coach I want to be. There's franchise coaching, international coaching, or in the development space back home where you can make a difference to younger players. So yeah, I just want to figure out what it is, what type of coach exactly I want to be and not say yes to things too soon and overcommit myself. So yeah, that's sort of going on in the background, but I'm trying to also not look too far ahead and be present with these next few months because I know it's going to go very fast and I'm going to miss just being a player first and foremost.
Well, that's it for Stumped this week on Akashvani. Don't forget to follow us on X. We're at BBCWS Sport and use the hashtag BBC Stumped. And watch us on the BBC World Service YouTube channel. My thanks to Charu Sharma and Jim Maxwell and to all of you for listening. Until next time, bye-bye.
Stumped is a BBC Sport production for the BBC World Service in association with ABC and Akashvani.